Hey, Peace World. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. Okay, okay. I had just done this or done the intro to this, and I knew my wife was going to come home as soon as I jumped into it, so I had to start over. This week's Empire. Wow. This week's, which involves an empire, but this week's Snowfall. Hedgehog, episode 8, season 3. Snowfall continues to be a very dope show, a pretty, layered show, pretty well executed show. So that's why I continue to talk about it. But it's taken a turn, the last couple of weeks. So let's get into it. I think the plot, the description for this show is that Andre, the LAPD officer, receives some help from an unexpected source. Franklin realizes that he's been exposed, and then Julia really threatens Teddy or Reed Thompson, the CIA agent. She completely compromises his operation. After having second thoughts about what they're doing and what the father of her child, I think they used to be married, his wife or whatever. So, but let's jump into the beginning of it. Like I said, man, last week's episode was one of the best moments I've had with TV in a while, because Melody's story, like I said on the last recap, if you were 10 years and up, you may have seen some stuff happen in your family, or you might have seen this firsthand, kind of what Melody is going through, and where the showrunners are doing with her character, with her falling prey, becoming getting swallowed up by this cocaine. This crack, by crack. And like I said previously, we kind of laughed it off the last season and a half, and overlooked and looked at Wanda as kind of how we, she's been a caricature, and she's been the crackhead that we've been laughing about as a community, as a country. The crackhead it's been who we've been mocking and laughing at, and for 25, 30 years now. And totally disregarding the fact that was once a person that was that had a productive life, or was just a real purpose. A real person. And so, like I said, Wanda has been filling that role, and nobody cared. But I thought it was really dope and a big risk, to take a character like Melody that came out of nowhere, the officer's daughter, living in a decent neighborhood, getting ready to go away to a HBCU, one of the most prominent in the country, and her willingness to experiment with drugs, is just taking her down this rabbit hole. And I like I said, man, I've seen it firsthand. In the opening of this episode, she's selling all of her, or giving away her belongings and her valuables in exchange for drugs. She's sneaking out of the house. Her dad doesn't know what to do. There's no, treatment is expensive as hell. Back in the day, recovery, rehabilitation and rehab, recovery, that stuff cost some ungodly amount, So anyway, man, it's kind of been sad watching it, but like I said, man, as a show, as being realistic, I think it's something that maybe it won't get noticed for what they've done, what they've tried to portray, with Melody, but it's a harsh, ugly reality. And Franklin gets involved and tries to bring her back home, and he gets a call and goes to look her up, even though his auntie has already told him, you know, you need to lower your expectations on what's possible for Mel, because that rock has got her. And so he goes to go save her, and she rebels and kicks him in the balls, and you know, mocks him in front of his organization, in front of his people. So he reacts and is like, all right, I'm done. And he tells his people, don't bother me about this no more. Let the streets have her. Let the game eat her up. And so, just to finish out her week, her arc for this episode, she basically runs into a situation where she sees it's a lot of work being out here on the streets, and trying to chase this high. It's a lot of work. She's not really gifted in that way. Maybe she doesn't want to be completely as bad as off as Wanda. And, she gets to a point at the end, and she's not as desperate as Wanda, where she's out, giving up her body and whatnot to get high. So it seems like there's a glimmer at the end of the episode where maybe she could turn things around, because she decides to go home like this. Okay, I'm getting this high is what it is, but so maybe it's a chance there's that she could, which ties into the next episode when I get to the end of this. So on the other side of this, Andre is still suspended from work. He's mourning because his daughter is going down this horrible, road. And Julia comes to see him and gives him all the information. Well, gives him information on what that he hasn't been able to get with his own efforts, to find out where Franklin spends his time and lays his head. So she comes and visits him, and gives him an address. And Andre goes and to the address, breaks in the house. It's actually he realizes it's Franklin's. It's probably where Franklin lives, and he scavenges or whatever, ravages the place, and stumbles across the dossier that Franklin's been putting together with all his the help of his father and the top-notch cat. All this information that they've put together on who exactly Reed Thompson is. So Franklin comes home, finds that's gone. His money wasn't touched, but he realizes that his information is gone, and a whole lot of stuff can come out of that. Can come from that information being exposed and getting in the hands of the public, or even being in the streets. It threatens a lot. So he's exposed much in the same way that Andre was exposed with his badge and his gun being out on the street. But of course, this has more. The implications are even greater with the information that Andre has on this situation. So Javi and his crew are attacked. One of his guys is shot in the head from a sniper of some kind. Reed he's called in by Rigo and almost chopped up, Scarface style, with Chi-Chi, I think was his name. And then he has to give away everything just for him to stay alive, because he's been jammed up. And so he has to give himself his real identity away and all of this, because Julia has went and set all of this stuff in motion. And that's where the name of the episode comes from, Hedgehog. Julia actually gives it away that she doesn't believe in this operation anymore. She thinks it's illegal, and how far are we willing to go to get money to fuel this war? And Teddy's 10 toes down on that situation. So she goes and sets some things in motion. Of course, Teddy picks up on the fact that only one person could have done all of this. All of my assets, everything that I've been orchestrating is all in disarray. And it didn't happen until I started getting help from this one individual. So he confronts her on it, and she doesn't deny it. And then he says, "Well, he's a dedicated dude, man. He's truly bought into, fighting for his country and democracy and all of that. The oath that he gave to be a member of the a part of the CIA. He's all in it. So despite like being severely undermanned and dealing with, his colleague is now Gustavo, who's off doing his own thing. They didn't really dig into what he's doing down at the border, I guess. But so then to this week's biggest moment is Franklin is kind of pushed into he realizes it's not somebody from the streets that broke into his place because they didn't take anything, but that information. So he realizes that it had to be Andre. So he goes and confronts Andre he has Andre's pistol actually. And he goes into Andre's home, makes him sit down at the table. He tells him put all the stuff, all the information, the photos, the articles that Franklin has researched, all of this information that he put together. He tells him put it in a folder. And he says, take your daughter and just leave. Just get out of the city, get out of LA, and don't ever come back. And Andre doesn't, at first he was a little nervous, but then he realized, this is the kid that I done raised and, and been around all these years and been over here eating at my table and hanging out with my daughter. You ain't no killer. I know you. And we really haven't seen Franklin put in any real work to this stage. But Andre, regains his poise and I'm the man here, and his background as a soldier. So he says, yeah, I'll tell you what, Franklin, I'm gonna take her somewhere and get her in the best situation that she can be in, all things considered. And he was like, then I'm coming back to the community. I'm coming back home, and me and you are gonna finish what we've started. And you kind of had a feeling that things were going wrong for him. But Franklin gets ready to leave the house and shoots him in the head. After, Andre had told him, you ain't no killer, get the F out of my house. And I guess Franklin is like, hey, it is what it is, man. You did this to yourself. I'm just helping you finish it off. And so that was, the first, that's the first big death, I think, in the show, besides, what was his name, Kev, which was part of the original crew. So, yeah, man, it's like I said, man, Snowfall continues to be a very good show. One of my top looks or watches of the week. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, and sometimes I'm wondering, like, is this another show where it's a 5-season thing? Is it enough buzz and are the ratings good enough, for it to tell its complete story, or will things drop off? Because a show like Power grabs a lot of the attention in the community, and the fanfare is there, the buzz. People seem to be highly invested in that one when I was on social media, which I don't have a pulse on that at the moment. And so I just don't know if that's happening for Snowfall, but Snowfall is a more diverse cast with kind of bigger storylines and whatnot. So it should be some possibility that could be bringing more people in with different interests in the show. But I don't know, what are we doing here? What's the end game? And that's the thing with them gathering the information and all the intel on Teddy. What's the plan what's the plan? What's the actionable, shout out to Jay, what's the actionable thing to do with all of this information? And now that you guys are making the type of money that you're making, if you were to take move on from Reed, whether get rid of him or run or switch, whatever, who can bring you in the type of product that Reed's been supplying you with for the last X amount of months. So, what's the end game here? But like I said, man, along the way, I think the other thing that I'm interested in seeing is, at some point, what's going on with Man Boy's right hand man and Leon. And Leon is a pretty high headed dude, and it just seems like at some point in time, Leon might have his own arc where there's some major moves with him, because he doesn't seem to be challenging Franklin, but it's the G Money and Nino thing. Like he wants responsibility, he wants credit, he wants how loyal is a guy gonna be to another man, indefinitely. So I'm just wondering. And Leon is the muscle. He's kind of the enforcer and the security and whatnot. So how long does he just sit and take orders and stay in his lane? And we've seen that the tension between those two before. So I'm just waiting on something to happen there. But like I said, right now with Reed has told Julia hit the road. And he's vowed to salvage the operation and to continue, business as is, and get back up and running. Especially now that he's giving Rigo all of the background, and and he's with the CIA and all of that. It'll be interesting to see what the DEA does still. With their officer. No final word on what happened to her. So, yeah, man, like I said, pretty good episode. And like I said, with a major character, a protagonist or a threat to the star of the show, with Andre being taken out, and the way that it happened just was really high drama this week. And I think we got two more shows maybe for the season. Episode 9 and 10. So that's it, man. Snowfall. If you dig the show, if you want to interact on it, feel free. The comment section is always there. If you like the way I'm, any of the points that I'm raising about the show, or kind of reviewing it or recapping it, hit the like button for me. That means a lot. Takes a fraction of a second. And come back to the channel and holler at me about some other things. I got a little work to do, little honey-do stuff to get out the way here in the next 30 minutes. But I really want to come back and do my live stream on this Rhapsody project, this Rhapsody album that's probably a week and a half old now, I believe. Eve. I'm gonna do that though, because I got some notes that I made for it, so I'm not gonna waste those. I'll get that out there probably later on today when I get 30, 35, 40 minutes. But other than that, man, remember, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. It's the last day of that long weekend, man. I hope you make the most of it. Peace.